Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at the wave quantum. It is time for another update, and today we'll be discussing the follow through that we still expect within this area, since we managed to extend perfectly as expected within the previous video here in another high to the upside. But before we get there, I would like to go quickly through the larger time frame for any of you who might be new, to provide the full context. And here we are tracking a larger impulse that is expected to form to the upside. Now, at the minimum within this impulse, I would expect it to be something like a 1, 2, third that is not complete, fourth, and the fifth. At the very least, this is the expectation to complete the entire pattern. But within this structure, I could actually see several extensions to work out, because I am actually able to track here even a series of 1, 2 setups. And even here, I could track this as a 1, 2, and this to be part all of the internal wave tree. And here have a 1, 2, 3, and even once this is complete, we could track a fourth and a fifth to complete this larger wave tree. And yeah, realistically, we should be prepared for several extensions on this chart. It does have a very bullish structure, a structure that allows for severe and several continuations higher. Yeah, within this pattern we can actually consider that this is the fifth wave of an even more internal wave tree that we are tracking right now on the chart. But for now, this is what we are going to focus on, and that is also mainly because within this structure, within this wave 5, we are going to be tracking the exact same pattern anyway. Now, in my preferred interpretation of this area, I am tracking this as a wave 1 up, a wave 2 down, a third wave up, fourth wave down, and the fifth wave that is expected to unfold, as long as we hold here the area of support that I provided you when we formed this wave 3 top, that is between the $28.5 all the way down to the $12.8 level. And once we have actually reached the 38.2% retracement, we already had a 3-wave move to the downside complete within this area. We extended a bit lower, but realistically we can consider that we have gotten to about the ideal target of the wave 4, which once again is the 38.2% retracement. And we can now track the potential movement in the fifth wave to the upside. Now keep in mind, in this larger structure, we are tracking an ending diagonal, meaning that we only expect to form an ABC structure to consider this wave 5 complete. If I form a 5-wave move to the upside within this area, I will heavily be looking and searching for continuation even higher. And although it is possible within a certain interpretation to track this as the wave C of this being the fifth wave to the upside, I wouldn't necessarily consider that to be my preferred interpretation. Yeah, now it depends exactly how it unfolds, the size of it. We may need to consider even internal extensions within this fifth wave, where, yeah, realistically, we don't need to go through all these interpretations. For now, we are focusing on the internal structure that would expect continuation higher. Now, of course, we have resistance areas to watch out for, but it's nothing too specific. Yeah, we have a 3-wave move to the downside. It's not suggesting that we should expect with high probabilities continuation lower. But breaking above the 78.6% retracement at the $38.4 level would be a good signal, yeah, a strong, decent signal that this structure would likely already be forming the fifth wave to the upside. Now, until then, I would like to also build an internal initial 5-wave move in this area if possible. And I say that because a wave A, yeah, we are tracking a larger wave A, doesn't need to be a 5-wave move to the upside. Sure, it could work out even as an impulse, even as a diagonal structure, even as a 3-wave move, unfortunately, which, yeah, makes overall tracking diagonal structures more difficult. That is why on the larger time frame, this was regarded as a much more relevant area, because on a larger time frame we have a lot more confidence in the overall trend of this chart. But on such a small time frame, a reset is possible, and yeah, especially since we aren't forming a clear 5-wave move to the upside within this area, I have to be extremely cautious when I'm looking for one. Yeah, I'm looking for one, although one doesn't need to appear, because this could work out again as an ABC movement within a wave A. It doesn't need to work out into a 5-wave move to the upside within such a movement. Now, with that said, again, we are tracking such an idea, and mainly for this structure, I am now tracking this as a wave 1 up, a wave 2 down here, and this as a third wave up. This is a leading diagonal that we are tracking. We would have here the wave 4 bottom in place and a fifth wave to the upside. I already told you this in the previous video, but if we actually look for a reset within the wave 4, I would rather be looking for a failure instead, and looking for a reliable structure within this area, within this time frame, is going to be impossible if we actually fail to form the 5-wave move to the upside. Now, fortunately, we did manage to form a decent structure since this current wave 4 bottom, and within this area, we have been tracking continuation higher in this idea of an ABC movement to be unfolding, where we were looking for the 4th and the 5th to complete this internal wave C to the upside to have a larger wave A complete, again within an ABC structure. For this, I provided you the area of support between the $30 level all the way down to the $28.2 level, and we seem to have retraced a little deeper since the previous video, but as you can notice, we pushed perfectly into the 38.2% retracement, which is the ideal target for the wave 4. I have probably already told you this like 1,000 times, but that is the ideal target. That is the general level that the wave 4 is drawn towards, even though it doesn't always get there. It is the most common target for the wave 4. Now, of course, other interpretations are possible within this structure. I could maybe track this as a 1, 2, 3, where in the wave 3 I could consider this to be maybe an ABC movement, but then we wouldn't have even gotten actually to the area of support because it would have started at the 38.2% retracement, which is why it is not necessarily a high probability interpretation for me, which is why I'm tracking this as a larger ABC movement. Now, keep in mind, we haven't formed a new high, yeah? At the moment, the previous top within the wave 3 is still the high within this structure, and I would expect this 5th wave to extend higher if it really is to form. Now, since we have already topped within the internal structure in this area, I will now need to track a quite difficult structure. Yep, and I don't say difficult because it is hard to imagine it, it is hard to track it, but it is difficult because it is not going to be a reliable trade setup. Again, we have only a 3-wave move to the upside within this area, and an ABC structure is not going to be a reliable pattern to track if within the wave A we have only formed a 3-wave move. Now, in such a case, we can still track an internal area of support, but again, it's not going to be the high probability structure we are always looking for. But here for the wave B, I'm watching the levels between the $29 all the way down to the $26.2 level at the 78.6% retracement, and as long as we hold this level, we can still track continuation higher, but below the 78.6% retracement, a sustained break below it would signal to me that, yeah, we are likely going to break even the 61.8% retracement for the wave 4. I would not necessarily expect a reset. Once again, we have already maxed out the area of support, and as long as we can track continuation, or as long as we can actually hold this area of support, we can track continuation within a wave C. Although, once again, this is not a trade setup. This is also expected to be a 5th wave. Now, I'm not saying something more bullish could not work out. Yeah, I could realistically even see this work out into a series of 1, 2 setups, but it is such a low probability interpretation that I would recommend that you do not focus on it. Now, within this wave B, ideally we see a 3-wave move unfold to the downside, and so far we seem to be on a very good track. We have here an ABC movement within a wave A, so I'm tracking this as an ABC structure, and within the wave C, I am expecting to see a 5-wave move to the downside. Now, keep in mind, a wave B could also work out into a WXY, in which case we would only need to form an ABC movement within the wave Y, but I cannot guarantee you that it will not form a wave C, that it will not form the entire 5-wave move to the downside within this area within the wave C. And in such a case, I will be focusing on the idea of an ABC movement. At the moment, I do prefer extensions lower still, and if we are to look even for an ideal target for the wave C, I would be looking at the 100% extension of the wave A, which is around the $27.8 level. Now, that seems more in line to tracking a WXY structure, because if we really are building a wave C within this area, at the moment, even though it is a very choppy structure, I might even consider this to be a larger impulse to the downside. It could work out as an impulse, in which case I would be tracking this as a double 1-2-1-2 setup. So this would be only an internal wave 3, which honestly doesn't even seem complete just yet. And then I would expect a 4th and a 5th to complete the larger wave 3, and then another 4th and a 5th to complete the entire wave C to the downside. In this case, I won't be necessarily focusing too much on the 5-minute time frame, but we can expect here a correction within a wave 4 once we actually form a bottom in this wave 3. But since I don't know exactly where it will stop, I can only provide you a temporary area of support, or rather of resistance, not support. But here I would be watching the levels between the $28.5 all the way down up to the $29.1 level. Now, if it really ends up unfolding within, let's say, a diagonal structure, I could see this work out into a 1, 2, 3, where in the third wave we form a bottom after, let's say, just one more tiny low, and then we could get a fourth and a fifth. In that case, we would be tracking a larger area of resistance. We would need to be tracking the entire wave down, and we would need to be watching the 61.8% retracement. So for now, based on the current low within this structure, I cannot be looking for continuation higher without breaking the $29.6 level. I would need to see that break for a signal that this structure is most likely complete to the downside, although I'm telling you at the moment it does seem very incomplete and that it does seem like it needs additional extensions lower. Now, for some ideal targets, I would be looking here for the wave 3 to the downside to actually get to the 138.2% extension of the wave 1. So for this 1, 2, 3, we are very close to the target, the $28 level, although we haven't quite gotten there. But again, if we are to look in this, albeit very small and nano time frame, basically, we do see that we should expect continuation lower. This does look like a 1, 2, 3, 4th and the 5th that could work out, but doesn't seem just complete. We are missing here another leg down. Now, as we open the market, we may not completely get it. The structure may suffer distortions, especially within such small time frames, which is why I generally recommend to watch the larger time frame, to watch the larger area of support, and this is realistically what we should be focusing on, and wait for this to have a more clear bottom in place. And if we happen to get within this wave C to the upside, an initial 5-wave move to the upside, and we can track a 3-wave correction, it could be an interesting trade setup, but until such is the case, I don't necessarily recommend dealing with this time frame. And yes, if we do manage to build this wave C to the upside, we will actually have a large time frame potential 5-wave move to the upside, which could be interesting for a follow-up correction in a wave B, let's say. But for now, we haven't built it, we need to be still patient, and for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead, and until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.